your knee?
You met Scott
Snavely, yes,
at
yes.
the.
Doing better.
Yeah.
That's what jogged me, 'cause I asked you
Okay.
to spell it down twice.
How you
and she
doing?
never called me back, so.
All right.
My dress is not in the
But he
tender.
said
Got a
he
kid
wanted to
getting
knee
married,
replacement.
it was all over.
How many do we need for a quorum?
Just didn't take a shower or
Ah,
something.
right.
Just joking. I said, I'll sit
Do we
on
have a
the
quorum,
bus
five?
last week, but you just didn't.
Yes, I was born. And I know for sure that Denise and Sean are not going to be here, so I don't know about Mark and y'all, I'm blanking.
Cruz.
Yes, Cruz. I don't know about Cruz and Mark.
If Randy brought free cake or something, maybe they'd all show up.
I'm sorry, what?
If you had cake, maybe everybody'd show up.
Does anyone need a copy of the agenda? You're what?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, you got one?
It's cold up here.
I pulled it up and I looked to see where I was.
They got air conditioning up here, don't they?
I know, it's cold. Yeah. Just don't touch this, it's cold.
Y'all ready to start?
Yes.
Could someone lead us in a moment of prayer?
Please, Sandra.
I did last time. But I can. You want me to?
Not me. Please.
Okay. Lord, thank you for bringing us all together today. We just ask that you continue to watch over our efforts for downtown and that everything that we do will be to your glory and that we will do your will in everything that's being done downtown. We ask that you look over all that we do and that we're able to include everyone and make sure that we are here for all of the families of Odessa and that we would bring all of the community together to participate in what we're doing. We thank you for all of the city employees that participate in everything that we do. Thank you for the staff of downtown Odessa, and we ask that you be in total control of the new director. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Well, looky here. Cruz is here.
Hey, Cruz.
We can start now.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from September the 14th?
I'll second it. Oh, I motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All approved?
Aye.
Any disapproved? Okay. Review of September financials.
Can y'all please look over the financials? Not a whole lot has changed. We had one debt of $15, which is our bank charges. We also had income of $47.50 for sponsorships. Alexa, who was that from?
So that was actually split between 3 sponsorship checks that I needed to be on the account to deposit. So 1,000 was from Copper Key Realty for Cinco de Mayo. 2,500 was from Medical Center Health Systems for Hot Summer Nights, and then 1,250 was from Southwest Bank for Hot Summer Nights.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So if everyone wants to look over, we are now at, in our one account, $150,045.02. And then with statement of activity shows our income. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the financials?
So moved. It said review, I wasn't sure.
I second it.
Thank you.
All agree?
Aye.
Disagree? Okay. All right, for new business, appointment of representative to Downtown Grant Review Board.
So this item is stemming from the changes that ODC made to the downtown facade and infrastructure grant programs. One of the changes is that we actually got some representation back into the program. So we do need to appoint one member to the Downtown Grant Review Board to fill our spot. There's actually one application waiting for this spot to be filled so that the board can meet. So if we could appoint someone today, that way we can get them on the ODC agenda for this month, that would be fantastic. So I guess there we're just open for discussion as to who you guys think might be best to fill that spot.
Who's not here?
Alexa and I've talked a little bit about Sean, but Sean's having a few health issues, so I'm not going to throw him under the bus and recommend him. Is there someone, Alexa, you think would be better or reasons they shouldn't do it?
You know, I think just if anyone is going to have any kind of conflict, like if you're planning on applying for a grant, I think soon, I don't necessarily want to cause that conflict early on in the new formation of this. So maybe if someone's planning on doing that, not necessarily have you guys step up to the board. I mean, otherwise, just if anyone foresees themselves having a conflict, maybe it may not be the best appointment for you, but I mean, that would be ultimately y'all's decision to discuss to see if whether or not you think that that's valid.
The only concern I would have for myself, if there was any energy for me to do it from the board, is if if I'm the architect for the proposed project, we come across that a couple of times, if I'm understanding the role that you're talking about. So I don't know.
Are you working on any projects downtown currently?
Yeah.
Or some upcoming that are going to ask for grants?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least
3? Okay.
Yes.
Maybe 4 in discussion, but.
It is a 3-person board. There's 2 representatives from ODC, and then DUI has 1 representative. So I would just feel like taking our person out would just basically mean that those 2 ODC people have to agree. There's, you know what I mean? It takes out the deciding factor, you know what I mean? Which generally almost every person on the committee agrees with everything that goes through. It's usually pretty black or white, like yes, this is go forward, or no, this isn't. But you know, that's just what the makeup is. So we just want to make sure that we're doing, the smart decision when we make our appointment.
I will be
I might
applying.
have a project going downtown, so.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I was gonna say, Lonnie would be great, he understands all.
We're kind of all
I was
in
thinking
that
he would be great at that, if
predicament.
you have.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would also need to be someone that would have the flexibility that if generally this board only meets, on demand, like when there's an application ready to go through the process. So generally we ask for somebody that would have flexibility to, within 4 or 5 days time, hop on a Zoom call or an in-person meeting, whatever the committee wants to do.
I'm going to be applying for a grant, and I'm helping other ones that I've sold real estate to, so I'm probably out.
Okay. And council has made it clear that they wish to be off of boards like this, so that would also take Denise and Mark out as our representatives, just based on their city council stances. They've said that they would prefer not to be appointed to any of these subcommittees, just to kind of cut out any conflict.
Who are the 2 representatives from ODC that's going to be on it?
There is Jeff Russell and Larry Robinson.
Sean should not be our representative.
Me neither, honestly.
William?
I don't have a problem doing it. I just never done it before.
We'll help you.
I mean, give me guidance, I'll help out.
Yeah, and we'll provide you with the guidelines. It's basically, I go through and make sure that applications are complete, but I don't necessarily look at merit. This group actually looks at the merit of the project, and, I make sure that they meet the design, guidelines as they're stated in the bylaws, but then this group kind of has a little bit more sway as far as, appearances and things like that, whether or not, it doesn't just meet the paper guidelines, but it meets the intent. So the group has a little bit more discerning power.
Okay,
I'll help you any way I can, William.
there you go. I'll do it.
Alright.
It's difficult for the remainder of us who have property down here or are in business dealings with
Right.
potential folks who are gonna be applying and, yeah, it's best that we're not on it.
All right. Do they need to vote officially, Randy?
I would say yes.
Okay, so then you guys would, William, you'd need to lead the vote so to confirm yourself.
All in favor is for William? All opposed?
All right,
Passes.
unanimous, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Thank you.
Yeah. Discussion of potential downtown Odessa stakeholders.
For this item, I would like to invite Craig Stoker up to the podium.
This is gonna be more complicated. No, thank you for having me. I'm Craig Stoker, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the chair of the TERS board, which also serves downtown. We kind of share boundaries and ideas and goals, and I hope we're all moving in the same direction. We did facilitate an update to our master plan for downtown that was held, last month? I don't know. I'm
Yes.
confused. But we received an update from Kimley Horn, who we employed to facilitate that. The report should be ready by the end of this month. But during that process, and I know several of y'all came and took part, and I appreciate that. But something that I kind of identified that was missing is an opportunity for all of us who have a stake in downtown to get together and discuss kind of what we're doing. I know in our meetings, Alexa has been providing an update about what the DOI board is doing. I'm not sure that anybody from TERS has ever come to visit with you guys about what we're doing. And up till now, there has been nothing. The first year we didn't have any money, and the second year was COVID. So we're all kind of getting back to that pace. But something that I thought could be helpful for all of us is to start a kind of stakeholders meeting where some representation from each of the boards, the hospitals. The TERS board is made up of the city, Odessa College Medical Center. We're in Odessa, we're in Ector County. I want some representation from each of these entities to meet at least quarterly. I don't know if it's something we're doing a little research on subcommittees that we can create for our projects, and I don't quite know where this belongs. But what I would like to create is something that perhaps when the director is identified and there's some forward momentum there, that it's a role that something like DOI could do. And that whether it looks like just the boards and stakeholders, at some point we need to involve the businesses. And so does it become a business alliance? I don't quite know what it looks like. But I know in my head, if we get together and have a conversation, we're going to end up in a better place. So I want to kind of plant that seed. Again, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know. Even in our meeting, I didn't have very much direction on where this needs to go, if it is a function of the TERS or if it's another Craig Stoker project. But what I do want to do is have DOI be a part of the process with this master plan. Reveal what we're wanting to do is we will receive a proof of what is happening in the plan. We'll be able to make some edits. I know that when it was presented to us, even in just a quick slideshow, there were some things that we wanted changed. But I want the people who are working to get downtown moving, every one of us involved. And if I'm over here doing this and y'all are over here doing this and we're not talking to each other, then I coming from nonprofit world, I don't want to duplicate services. It's a time suck for all of us. So I want to get you guys on board. I want to have what we've discussed is a launch event where we are able to present to the stakeholders, which would be kind of the people I've listed, you guys, the chamber, the city, the county, the businesses. We have discussed having something like that at the Ector with just kind of a big splashy feel good, hey, we're back, we're ready to move forward. But in order to do that, I think that event's a little bit different. But again, I don't know quite what it looks like, and I don't know quite how we get it set up, but I did want to just start the conversation about some sort of quarterly meeting at least, so that we all are on the same page.
It sounds like a good idea to me.
Sounds like,
Could you just appoint someone, or we appoint one or two members of
To
this
be on
board
the
to go?
forum?
Yeah.
Because then that way, if you don't, then we're gonna be,
Yeah.
repeating our
missing.
efforts,
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally agree.
I'd
So-
do it.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So let me see who else I can get together. Again, we're working with the attorneys to figure out how we can do it, and not that we're trying to subvert any sort of Open Meetings Act, but I know we're beholden to that. But just so that it's an informal discussion about what are y'all working on?
Right.
Oh, facade grant, like all of this stuff I find very interesting, and I would love to be in that discussion. And I think there's parts that overlap with the TERS board. So we'll work on it.
Craig,
Perfect.
I don't know exactly what target areas, or if it was a general review of the master plan that was completed before. What's being updated, what's happening. Can you share a little bit on that, and then maybe some target dates when there will be a final review, or when it's going to go public?
We are expecting the final draft at the end of this month. So we'll have the opportunity to present it to, we will present it to council first for their approval, and then that will be, I guess perfect world, you'd do it in a work session and then hold the council meeting, have that launch as a council meeting at the Ector. Again, I don't quite know what it looks like. It's just been something we've discussed a little bit.
Are there projects in the works
From that plan, no.
from the plan?
There are, again, we're waiting to get it back to kind of see where we go with it. I know the areas identified, we talked about sidewalks, we did the walking tour. The things that were identified as important were restaurant, retail, entertainment, family-oriented. We know a big piece is going to be wayfinding. One of the big topics we discussed was parking and the either availability or lack thereof, depending on your view. If you want to park on Grant, there's not a whole lot of parking. If you want to park on Lee or Texas, or keep going back, there's a whole lot of parking. But it's just a matter of getting some signs up and what that's going to look like. Some of the projects that we've got coming that were little pieces of this, the parking lots at 4th and Grant on either side, we're going to re-landscape to modernize that. It's mainly a parks request. They are the sod has been torn up and the benches are broken, and really kind of a beautification on those corners. Again, to also add safety improvements, so better lighting.
Trash cans?
Trash cans have been discussed. I know that one of the things we've talked about is how do we distinguish the footprint that we're in, and the TERS pretty much follows y'all's map. There's one kind of section that takes out some of the residential parts because we don't cover that. But how to distinguish kind of that area is downtown. So replacement of lights, adding of banners, kind of like you're seeing in these situations. But everything be branded. So if we do put out trash cans and benches and everything would carry, kind of that downtown logo. You've got a great logo, a great, message behind it. but that was one of the suggestions, is to make it feel special when you cross into this area.
Yep.
We have purchased 12 more of the flower pots. There are already 14 downtown. We've purchased 12 more, which will finish out Grant. That should finish out Grant. There is there was a session on Grant about what to do with fixing the sidewalks and the grade issues. The problem, beyond funding and the fact that it's a state highway, is that there's not much we can do to kind of get it level without doing a whole redo of Grant. So they're going to include some. They did a project. I cannot remember where it was. Do you remember where they had the bump outs and the?
Denton. Was it Denton?
I don't think it was Denton. Maybe Frisco. But anyway, to create where, for instance, on John's side where there are the steps downs, to create like a bench that would negate having to step off a big curb, but then have access, in the middle and at the end, to redo the trees that are on the sidewalks, to move them to bump outs at the end and one in the middle. And if you go to Midland and
Yes.
by Cancun and Pi Social, they've done that in the middle of the street. Not in the middle, but on the.
Yes.
So you do have some parking still, because that was a concern that
I
we
like
heard.
that. That's a great idea.
Completely taking away the parking was not received well. And TxDOT, I believe we have to maintain 2 lanes in each direction. So the angled parking was not going to work either.
Yeah.
But really what I think will be identified is shifting the focus to Texas. Since that is a city street and we do not have to apply to the state to close it, and we've just kind of got a lot more leeway there. And the other was another over on Jackson to create a pedestrian corridor between the hotel and the post office, where that would not have street traffic anymore, but it would be usable for farmers markets and concerts, and it would just be something that would automatically be closed. It would not be open. And then the street crossings there would be elevated, so there would be a, not a speed bump, but the intersection would be raised so that there is some consideration to the pedestrians. I know with
Good
the
ideas.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, good ideas.
Yeah. I know there was some consideration of that between, I think it was on 3rd and 6th, between the east and the west sides, to do something that would again give pedestrian access to both sides, because at the end of the day, all of this is not going to focus, at 5th and Texas. That'll be one of the destinations, but you still got Knoll Heritage, you still got the hospital. There's still a lot of movement in between to consider. I know that one of the ideas that was approached is a lot of the landscaping that's done. How do we keep that consistent? How do we, if you look at what's been done at kind of 5th and Texas and those areas around like LCA and where they've redone the intersections with the bump outs, really kind of mirroring that so that everything matches. We identified, I think, 4 different grades, I guess you would call it, rocks and brick and concrete and broken alley dirt, but something to give it a consistent feel. I know that was a priority. And I know that in our last meeting, the subcommittee we're going to try and create is housing. What can the TERS do to attract housing? Legal is looking into that. I spoke with Renee Earls and said, let's resurrect what happened 2 years ago. I know a lot of you were in those meetings at ORMC about how to attract this. What do we do? And I think that kind of a surprise, not really a surprise. Kimley Horn was surprised that housing was not identified as a priority through the surveys that were done. There were 191 surveys turned in. Housing was not a priority on any of them. And I said, well, if you think about it, none of us really live more than 15, 20 minutes from downtown. Why would any of us ever think about living there? But if you turn an eye on the kind of 8,000 or so people who work in downtown, the students at Tech, the doctors, nurses, I think the city statistics are like a majority of the residents of Odessa are 18 to 34, that kind of young professional group that would enjoy that. I think the OC project is going to be another kind of game changer down there, bringing in a green space and a park. So we're really going to see how we can focus on housing and what our involvement can be. You know, we've got very narrow guidelines of how we can spend our money. So,
Well, as more things come downtown, more amenities come downtown, then people are going to have a different attitude about living downtown.
right. Well, and my little personal campaign, people are shocked to find out there's 10 restaurants in downtown. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I kind of expect back from our plan. Hopefully our fingers are crossed pretty tightly that what we get are some pretty solid investment packages that we can put out for proposal to encourage either infill development, retail mixed-use housing. So much of those types of projects were put on hold with COVID because of social distancing and restaurants closing and those kinds of things. But there's momentum. It's moving forward. There are things happening, and what I'm hoping with that plan update is that we can kind of just seamlessly fold it all in together and really have that unified. Here you go. Here's what we're doing. I am fairly certain we've stamped an expiration date on it to say this is our 5-year plan. We'll look back. So as far as which parts of it are going to be new, it doesn't sound like a whole lot. But if you look at the 2016 plan from Gateway, you know, the anchor project on that was the hotel. And so that's here. We need to use it to our advantage. I mean, it's a huge economic impact for these companies. If you look, I mean, even at Torchy's, you know, there was enough time before COVID blew everything up to show that these things are viable, these things work, and they'll be a great addition to downtown.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Craig, first, before you leave, does everyone know what OC's doing downtown? What the project is? I don't know that everyone knows.
Okay, so Odessa College is working with the city. It was approved at the last council meeting to do I will say the wrong word, land swap? Donation, whatever you want to call it, of the Odessa American site to Odessa College, which has a new 4-year entrepreneurship program to receive a bachelor's degree. They're wanting to house that program downtown. It's going to be in a 3-phase project, and phase 1 is going to be a green space. They're going to do, I believe, 100-yard turf field with tables and chairs and trees and landscaping. There'll be, I think, 2 splash pads and a stage so that you can have concerts.
Is that where the Odessa America used to be?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that
So
where they're planning on the 4-year program building?
Yes. So
Same-
phase 1 is the green space. Phase 2 is the building, which has been described as a 3-story building that'll host classroom space for that program, co-working space for the students who need to facilitate meetings, need a meeting space, and then the first floor will be an incubator, micro market type situation where if you've got an idea and you want to try it out, but you can't afford a retail space, they'll have the ability to do that. I don't know what phase 3 is. I may have just made up. Well, you know this.
Yeah.
You're the
You're the architect.
Now I know how, not rumors, but now I know how stuff changes, but, so not necessarily 100-yard, green space.
I heard 100 yard.
Well,
That's not, I'm not making things up.
I know.
Pull the record.
I know.
Yes.
A city block is 300 feet, which 3 times, yeah. So it's
I
smaller.
I was
It's
curious how they were going to
Yeah.
squeeze that in there, but
You know, yeah, so not quite that big, but it is going to fit on a half city block. The southern portion of the block is going to have about between an 8,000 and 9,000 square foot per floor print building times 3. So it's going to be around 25,000 square feet, 26,000 once it's built. The spaces that are programmed right now to go in the building, you are pretty verbatim to what we're thinking right now. There's some other things so that downtown center, the building itself, is also a resource and a place for people to congregate as well, which make the micro shops happen,
Right.
and other things, and then the entrepreneurship part filters into those micro shops, and then the public participates, right? And then right now, because of the way what we have learned with from equipment and maintenance of a splash pad and everything that goes into it, plus all the state requirements that are pretty stringent on it, we're looking at one concentrated splash pad right there off of the 4th and Jackson intersection. But it'll be substantial. It'll be better than Midland, and then in that we're going to incorporate lights and other things. I have to put that out there, of course. And then we will have a performance canopy or performance stage, and then a medium canopy on the north side that initially maybe where some things happen. Then I'm also trying to get another one in there that's on the west side that's smaller for trios, quartets, something even smaller that's out there just during the day hanging out, playing for folks. And then restroom buildings, as many trees as possible. Right now, between 35 and 40 trees, a bunch of steel table and seat furnishings, like what you have at Centennial Plaza or in the Colonnade, like at Clyde Warren Park. They're heavy; they're not going to go anywhere. They'll last a long time. So we have a lot programmed, and then. So basically, there's 3 phases, but depending on how I think the funding and the support goes as we move into this, we're hoping that maybe phase 2, which are going to be the performance canopies and those big structures, could be coupled into it, and then phase 3 would be the building, and so it could be 2 phases depending how fundraising and all of that goes together. But we're in the middle of design right now. There probably won't be, just based on how quickly we're moving, I don't know that there'll be a public presentation of what it's going to look like beyond a site plan. Probably not until January. But it's going to be great, and we get one shot at it. And so far, we keep seeing the resources to make it happen. So.
Well, I know that there's an aggressive timeline since they had to cancel their concert.
It's aggressive timeline, but just with everything else going on right now, and so many things to focus on, having a green space next July, I think, is what was put out there. I'm not sure that's tangible right now.
I want it for Empty Bowls 2023, so as long as you have it done by then. We'll
Yeah, I think they're still having I met with Jackie last week. They're still having the concert at the Ector.
Yeah.
They were just hoping to open up for Hot
Yeah.
Summer Nights, I think, next.
Oh, that'd be.
Really the only problem is it's not that we can't throw not a 50-yard, not a 100-yard turf, 50-yard turf. That's not the problem. There's so much infrastructure that we're trying to get into this thing for food trucks, festival lighting, the splash pad, utilities for a future building and we're landlocked. We don't have any we don't have any place for staging and
Yeah,
all
y'all
of
are making me
that.
build a parking lot.
How about the north side where the Bailey Griffith Firestone?
That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
they're making me build a parking lot there, which I'm
I mean, so
not
that's
excited
really the
about,
only
but I'll do
breaks
it.
we have right now, but that's only gonna be for a period of time too, so,
Yeah, TERS is planning on paving that.
which we really don't want paved until we're done, because that's the only place we can stage right now.
Well, in the
Staging.
paving, I guess you're including landscaping as well, correct? Not just
Not a
blacktop.
lot, because my vision of it is not surface parking, but in the meantime, until somebody comes
I
along that
get-
wants to
I
build
get it.
something there,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
have-
don't spend too much.
have it be planters that could be moved instead of planting trees. Have
Yeah,
it be
get you.
lighting
I got
that
it.
can be relocated, and not just spending $100,000 to put a parking lot on a very
Yeah.
prime spot.
Gotcha.
But for the meantime, until somebody's ready to do that.
Mhm.
I was gonna tell you, Cruz, too, that I've talked to Toby, I think 40 trees makes an arboretum, so it can be classified as an arboretum. He knows, because we were looking at that at the hotel, and we didn't end up putting in that many. But that'd be nice to have an arboretum downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Okay. Next one is the event update.
So hopefully some of you have been visited by some volunteers that I've sent out into the world to pass out flyers. They haven't gotten all the way, but at least the hotel probably should have gotten one. You
Okay.
should have gotten one in your office. For the Halloween scavenger hunt and trunk or treat that we're doing. So the hunt that we've been talking about is going to be the 22nd through the 30th. It's going to end earlier in the day on the 30th. And then the 30th itself will be the trunk or treat, and where we're going to award all the prizes from the scavenger hunt. So that's all going to take place on 4th Street, utilizing the built-in electricity and resource that we have there along 4th Street for the food trucks and the games and certain things like that. We're going to do the trunk or treat parked all along 4th Street, and then inside the park there's going to be a movie like we were discussing last month, starting at 8 o'clock. So the trunk or treat is from 4 to 8, and then the movie starts at 8 o'clock. So all of our vendors can get busy going, and we'll reopen the street, and then inside the park will be the continuation of the activities and everything for free, as is what we generally do for Halloween. And there's a bunch of other activities that are going on downtown that evening, so I think it's going to be a really nice night for people to be able to walk between things and kind of start getting that mindset talked about that we were discussing in the town halls with Kimberly Horn of it's not that there isn't any place to park, it's just there's no place to park when you're trying to get in one particular place. So here, we can kind of get them into that walking mindset, like, oh, it's not that bad to walk from Noel Heritage Plaza over to the hotel or over to the Ector or walk to Torchy's or wherever it is that you want to go. You know what I mean? So that is the plan for Halloween. Not much has changed fundamentally from what we've discussed in previous meetings, but are there any other questions or follow-up that you guys have about our Halloween events?
Did you, I think it might have been Craig that was going to talk to you, because when we met with the library staff, they have something that night, and we understood that the street was going to be closed.
Yes,
So we
so
wanna make sure that
we've
we
talked to
consider that.
them, and they're actually going to join us. So they've asked for about 5 or 6 booth space inside of the park to set up all their people and give away their prizes and their candy and things like that. So
Good.
we're
Okay.
working
So
with
it worked
them,
out.
and so they're going to be partnered with us kind of unofficially. But we just, like I told her, I was like, we want to be good neighbors, so whatever we can do to kind of work together. And she was like, oh, well, do we have to pay you for the spaces or anything? I was like, no, it's like, it's the park. Well, you guys can be in the park with us. Just, we're going to sit down sometime this week and have the conversation of exactly what it is that they need. But we've gotten them taken care of, and we've started that conversation with them, so
Okay.
we should be good.
Apparently they had talked the week before.
Yes.
Oh, really?
We talked right after I got back from Mexico, and then a week later I heard that they've been trying to talk to me for 3 weeks and never gotten through, and it's like, well, that's interesting because
It's okay. Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you find sponsors?
The sponsors are actually rolling in. I think so far, the sponsors for the hunt, we have about 5 or 6 people registered to be sponsored stops. And like I said, the volunteers haven't even made it, I don't even think, to the halfway point of the footprint. They're running a little bit behind on getting everything through. I think that they're just about to hit Grant. So everything to the east has been done. From 1st to 10th, but then nothing from Grant West has been done yet. So if we're only about a third of the way through the footprint and we're already at 5 or 6, that's pretty good.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about Halloween before we move on? Nope. Okay. So winter, we have quite a lot of stuff going on for winter. As you guys know, the Parade of Lights registration opened on October 1st. That registration has been rolling in pretty steadily. We started doing a new format as far as registration and payment goes. We actually started using the Jot Form software. We've used it for a few things already that we, after approving the membership for that. But integrated into that, you're able to integrate Square payment. So that way people can literally just type in their credit card, pay online. They don't need to call us and pay by phone. It auto-generates an invoice or a receipt for them if they need that. So it's been very good for everybody that's used it. Everyone from the school district to private businesses have done it, and nobody's had any complaints or anything like that, had to call us. It's been very efficient as far as what they need and what helps us in the office. So that's looking like it's going to be a very good and successful method going forward as we're doing registration for other things. We do have quite a number of registrations. I unfortunately forgot to pull the exact number, but if I had to, kind of ballpark it right now, I would say we're up to probably about 15 to 20 people registered so far for the parade.
Nice.
Which, considering it's only been open for 11 days, that's pretty good. And we haven't even sent out the press release yet. It's basically just one Facebook post has generated all of that. And almost all of them have been the commercial business category, we bumped up the fees this year to $100 for commercial businesses, $75 for nonprofits. Schools are still free and families are at the nonprofit rate of $75. And then there's an additional fee for additional vehicles, up to 5 vehicles total on an application. And nobody's balked at the price increases or anything like that. So I think that we'll finally be able to get all of our prize fees covered by the registration fees, which has been our ultimate goal for a while now, and I think we'll finally hit it. As far as the DOI float goes, if that's something that we still want to do, I know that we talked about a few different options, and Mark sent out an email with one that I think a lot of people responded that they liked. I think we should start making the plan to do that, and when we would want to go out to solicit the sponsors for the gift tags on the little presents, and when we might want to meet to go ahead and do that. So I guess this is just the point where we have that discussion of, is that still something that we want to do? And then what kind of time frame are we looking, and who's willing to commit to the venture?
I would love to do the float,
Okay.
but committing is going to be hard. Getting volunteers is going to be hard.
Yeah.
I would get everybody signed up and have north of 15 people. Lonnie and I got stuck with it one year by ourselves. Luckily, it was just kind of putting back together the original float and some things, but that was no fun. But we couldn't leave the shop till we got it done, or we wouldn't have had anything rolling down the street. And I don't know. I think you have to have a strong commitment from plenty of people, or I think we have to pass. I don't know that.
I agree.
We just had a hard time before, and I'm not going back there. I don't think Lonnie is either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that many volunteers, do we?
I mean, that's kind of what this conversation should be, is, it would really need to be everybody that's here, and bring a friend and talk to the play committee, which there's a lot of overlap between the board and the play committee. So even going to the play committee doesn't really add that many more bodies into the mix. It would really need to be an all hands on deck. And is that something that we're willing to do and able to do? Because I know people have stuff going on in their lives, so maybe you're just not able.
One year when, let me think, would it be put together out at building services? That's
We-
where it
We
began
did that,
before.
that year. We did it
We
there.
probably could arrange that if needed. We can talk to them and see if they have any space for us to borrow for a couple weeks.
Maybe this year we should put on the parade, not participate.
Yeah, I was wondering that because it's a contest too. So I don't know if we
Get
should
it.
have our own float when we're choosing who wins.
And we won it one year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't
Yeah.
think that's right.
We should have won that year. It was awesome.
I just wonder if that's really
I,
what we should be doing.
I don't know that if it's that much benefit to the downtown Odessa.
Let's put on a
Really?
parade, not
Remember when
participate.
we were talking about, well, I mean, downtown needs to participate and be visible, but just like in the play committee, when I was talking about marketing opportunities, even if it was canopies up and down the parade route where people are seeing our logo everywhere, it's still awareness of that we're present and we're participating in it.
Yeah.
I hate to be a Scrooge, but I'm not gonna be in town, I think, December 2nd through the 8th, or something like that, so I won't be here for it, but I vote not to do the parade, just,
I don't think we should.
Monty, we.
The
I-
float. The
I
float,
second
not the
that.
parade. The float, not the parade.
There were just too many people showing up to help.
Yeah.
It's hard when you have a small board like this.
I
just
agree.
think I would say we shouldn't too. I
Could we
agree.
possibly sponsor maybe some banners for the golf carts that are up and down the?
Yeah, I mean, get,
Yeah.
let us be
Mhm.
visible during the
Or
parade.
Yeah,
banners.
we'll be there helping.
What about banners on some of the poles?
Well, that comes with an expense that I don't necessarily think that, we have the funds to cover. There's maintenance that comes with that, and you know what I mean, to put those up. But we do have the flags that were purchased for President Trump's visit. So if a crew wants to get together possibly that week and we could put them up around the
I'll
downtown
help with that. Put
footprint.
the flags out on maybe the bump outs.
Yeah, so it just depends how many we want to put up. It's just, I think that they're maybe a little bit too large, and, I have concerns about people touching them and knocking them down when they're going to be on the sidewalks and on the streets and all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to take that into consideration with the flags, but we do have the flags that are an option.
Well, what were we planning on doing, that Kimley Horn's recommending that we identify downtown with? Maybe we start, if we can do it.
Wasn't it banners on some of the light poles
Yeah,
and
it was
things?
banners on the light pole, so why wouldn't we try to get that in?
Yes, Mr. Stoker.
Once you hit a certain point, they all have the Christmas decorations on them.
Yeah.
So most of the light poles down the parade route already have, there's not.
Right, they have like the snowflakes and the lit
There's not a
snowflakes
flag.
on them. Not a flag, no, but.
Okay.
And I know that in previous years, Steve Patton had been in contact with our department about doing the light pole flags, and it just came down to a matter of maintenance costs, and it was something that he wasn't comfortable having the parks people in charge of, so it was bringing in an outside company to maintain them and the expense with that, and it just became,
I have a suggestion, but it might be farther down the road. But a lot of towns you see have these canopy or screens that are covering buildings that are not, instead of boarding up a building, they put these screens that, and they're printed, with, downtown Odessa and excitement, etc., for downtown. And it's be a good promotion for downtown Odessa, as well as cover up unsightly buildings that are boarded up, etc.
I think we had talked about that before, didn't we?
yeah, we had talked about doing the signs similar to what we have, but instead of in the steel frames, doing something that could maybe be applied to the windows or something, or do some kind of vinyl wrap or something.
What about all the signs we have, the 4x8s that are all over downtown that are kind of hard to read? What about redoing those with our logo and the Eat, Shop, Play, whatever it is? Re-logoing those signs that are downtown that are just falling over in some different areas for our vacant lots and from other businesses and a few things like that also.
You're talking about the ones that are in the steel frames, like in the Scott lot and all that?
Scott Lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think so, just making sure that we have a lot of advertisement, it's a really good chance to brand.
Right.
Mhm.
It's during that.
So I'm thinking more, I don't think most of the newer vehicles have these, but antenna toppers that might have our logo. I know Happy Holidays from downtown Odessa, that they're gonna be going down the parade, and maybe they could have our logo on their vehicle somehow.
Like the parade entries, or are you talking about like the city
Entrance.
vehicles?
The entrance from the parade.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something to get our logo out. I mean, 4th of July, we could do fans, but you wouldn't do that for Christmas. I mean, something also just to brand downtown when they're coming downtown.
Right. No, absolutely.
So by the next meeting, can we look at, I mean, something to help do some branding or something?
Yeah, I can get with legal and see. I know for private buildings, it's going to be difficult to mandate that we put like our logo in the windows or in front of a private buildings, but anything that's city owned, I think
Well,
that we can
unless
get
you
close.
can
Yeah.
get approval from the owner.
Right.
Right. I mean, also in doing that, let's just make sure it's something possibly removable, like the Oafs building. If we know we're going to be tearing that glass out in 4 or 5 months, let's not spend thousands redoing it. Something that we can use again. So
Yeah, I can research some options and bring some quotes by the next meeting.
let's start our branding. Yeah.
So we're gonna vote on not doing the parade as far as having a float.
I don't.
I don't think we need an
We don't need
official
a vote on
vote
that,
on
yeah.
that. I
No.
think that that's the general consensus. Is that correct? That
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll let you go.
Okay. And then for the Winterfest Market that we're doing on the 4th and the 18th, during the parade and then after the Teddy Bear Tea, and that is going to be shifted a little bit. I know that we were talking about doing 4th to 6th, the same kind of footprint that we used for the car show for 4th of July, but now we're thinking about moving it down just a block and going from 3rd to 5th, and that way when we're talking about doing like the movie on the courthouse lawn and things like that, it kind of makes more sense into the footprint. So as far as that goes, that's the only new development. Craig has put me in contact with the folks from Sewell to send out a request or some information about our market to their vendors that participate in their markets and things like that. So Medical Center is doing similar. They're going to email out to their vendors and let them know about our market. So hopefully we'll have a really good turnout and a very nice market for people to be able to peruse and spend some time and come downtown early or come and stay downtown late after the parade, whatever it is that they want to do. As far as the Teddy Bear Tea, I was able to come in on Friday. I was off on Friday, but I came downtown and met with the folks over at the Marriott, and so we have that taken care of as far as Teddy Bear Tea and New Year's Eve for room rentals and food and beverage minimum. So I know that that was a big component that we were waiting on last month, so now we have that taken care of. We are still looking for a sponsor for the teddy bears, but we have a hot lead on that, so hopefully that'll only be...
You'll know by the play committee meeting.
Yes, so hopefully by tomorrow we'll know whether or not the teddy bears are taken care of for our teddy bear tea. A small change that we were talking about and that came out of the play committee for the teddy bear tea is doing the seating instead of combining families like we did in 2019 when there weren't COVID risks and things like that, is selling the tables kind of as family tables, so that each family is, kind of seated privately. They're not with other families and things like that, to kind of just raise the level of comfort of people that might be a little bit more cautious in this situation, in this environment. So with that, instead of doing a buffet type breakfast, each table is going to have a centerpiece with their own family style service of foods. There's going to be finger sandwiches, petit fours, danishes, different things like that on the tables, and the families will be able to serve themselves along with tea and coffee, everything that you would need for a very elegant upscale tea party with teddy bears and Santa and Mrs. Claus and all the good fun and games that come along with that. Being that the tables are going to be private and not mixed, we're going to do 2 settings of 50 instead of 1 setting of 100 people. So that way there'll be less people in the room. The tables can be a little bit further away. There could be less people at a table. It just kind of made more sense to go that route. So there's going to be 2 settings, one going from 10 to 11:30, and then the other one going from 12 to 1:30. So those will be the 2 settings. each setting featuring 50 people, roundabout. For New Year's Eve, pretty much a very similar format to 2019, a few slight changes. Instead of a waiter served plated dinner before the show, the event is actually going to start with the comedy show, and then after the show, people will, be released to go back to the dance floor type area where the DJ will kick off, and there'll be some very heavy hors d'oeuvres. There's going to be a beef option, a seafood option, a vegetarian option, and a chicken option for the heavy hors d'oeuvres for people to kind of serve themselves and make whatever plate that they would like to have. We're still going to do the drink tickets, sell the VIP tables, that kind of thing. And this is going to be one where there probably won't be the option to necessarily have just single family tables like we could do at the Teddy Bear Tea, just because we need to kind of maximize on the profit here. But we found in 2019 that over 85% of people just bought a table anyway. That's what the sales were. There were very few people that actually bought single or couples tickets. So we're going to do a majority of the tables be the big 10 tops, which is what they were in 2019 that people bought a majority of anyway. And then around the perimeter, just have smaller 4-top tables for smaller groups to be able to share, whether they buy just 4 tickets or 2 tickets. They'll be able to be at one of the smaller tables kind of around the perimeter. So that way we can still kind of accommodate the COVID risk and keep people comfortable and kind of as separated as possible.
Do you have the price on those already?
Yes, so for the Teddy Bear Tea, there's a $2,200 food and beverage minimum and a $200 rental fee. And then the additional service costs and taxes and things like that. And then New Year's Eve, they waive the rental fee, but there is a $10,000 food and beverage minimum.
What'd you spend last year or 2 years ago on food and beverage?
In food and beverage, it was probably comparable to that. So the minimums weren't really a problem, especially when you put together the menu. The plated dinner alone, I think that we hit $45 a head for New Year's Eve, and then drink tickets were included, so that's an extra $12 on top of it. So we were at about $55 a head in 2019 for the 250 people, so that still put us right around that same food and beverage minimum. One thing I do need to say is they moved us up for New Year's Eve. Instead of being in the lower, smaller ballroom, it's going to be upstairs in the larger ballroom. That way we can spread out a little bit more. And then also if we have to add some more tables, if demand exists for that, like I did in 2019, we can also add some more tables on and sell some more tickets.
Very good.
Are there any questions about anything winter related? One new development as far as outside partnered events. There is a group, the West Texas Ford Truck Mafia, that want to put on a memorial car show for one of their founding members. He recently died of COVID, and there's a day in June that the mayor has made a proclamation to make a day for this person. So on that day, they're holding a memorial car show, which I think after the success of our 4th of July car show, that was something that we were looking into doing. But this is going to be a great way to kind of take some of the pressure off of downtown, and that, this group can do one in June. We'll keep the 4th of July one as part of the Fandango process that we do. And then Al Lara's Lowriders Against Bullying does their car show in August. So that way there will be one car show every month in downtown in the summer, which is when, these events are the most popular anyway. And we really only need to do the legwork for one of them. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be a great partnership, and they've been really great to work with so far, and they're very excited, and they want to start their marketing already and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to have them coming downtown and choosing to do this downtown. I know that they were looking at some other spots, but they participated in our 4th of July one and saw how well that was set up and really liked the footprint and everything that was around, and the fact that there were so many bars around that they didn't need to worry about getting their own liquor license and things like that. So I think that that's going to be ultimately a really nice partnership that we're going to see coming in. And I believe that that's the second weekend in June. any questions about any upcoming events that we have, just in general? Okay,
Great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as far as the director's report, oh, I'm sorry, William, I took your your line.
Okay. Director's report.
Thank you. So as you can see, we have quite a large number of grants, and this is just the ones that have had a counseling session or further. There have been some where people have verbally told me that they're going to apply for a grant that haven't made it onto this list yet. That's kind of how I make the determination of what gets on this list is who's actually scheduled a consultation with me, whether it be virtually or in person, and we've given them the paperwork and they're really on the road. So there's other people that are going to do so that just aren't on this list yet, but we're already up to 10. So Ambler Law, there's been no movement. We're still waiting for them to turn in their documents for reimbursement. There is no time frame to turn in for reimbursement, which usually has never been a problem because people want to be reimbursed quite anxiously. But legal is looking into options of putting some kind of timeline in there to submit for reimbursement. So that might be a change that we're going to see to the programs coming up in the next little bit here. The three that kind of came in together at the beginning of the year, Petty Cardio of West Texas, Icon Tavern, and The House, are all under construction in some way, shape, or form at different processes. Just a couple weeks ago, Icon started, and they're already pretty far along the way. If you see, that's all boarded up, and they've got everything torn out, it looks like, and they're looking to get going. Petty Cardio, if you've driven by there, it's in the same place. The House is a little bit further along, but they also had less to do. But they're still just a little bit away from actually getting to the point of opening. La Katrina, she had a small issue with her insurance, but we've gotten that figured out. And so she is looking to open rather quickly. It will only take a few days to get the work done. She just applied for one item.
Is that the same owner as La Margarita?
No, La Katrina & Co. is an upscale Western boutique. It's run by a woman named Griselda Melendez. So it's over on West 2nd, 301 West 2nd. So right there off of Grant and 2nd. She recently put her sign up and stuff like that. So if you drive by little, she's making progress, and we should see her open sooner rather than later. She's highly motivated to get open. So that's going on with that one. Gifts R Us is actually the one that we're going to be meeting as the grant review board to get passed to move on to ODC for this month. She submitted her paperwork a while ago and had some issues and had to resubmit, and it took her a little while, and then by the time she got it back to me, there were changes made by ODC, so we've just had speed bumps on both ends. But that one is now going to progress. I had an in-person consultation with Paradigm a little while ago, and he was working on getting everything together for his facade. I'm not really sure where the delay is on that one, so I do need to reach out to him to see if there are any issues or when we can kind of expect that. But it has been a little bit since his consultation, but he did seem very motivated to do it at the time. So I'm not sure if there's just life has come up in the meantime, which we all know that happens. Part 2 companies, Anthony Rios, he wants to do his own facade. His wife wants him to do his facade. So he's going to be submitting paperwork kind of once work slows down. He's got a lot of projects in the mix that he's kind of focusing on before focusing on his building. The most recent consultations I've had were for Clover House and Forever Young Spa. They're both going to be doing facade and infrastructure. Forever Young would probably start a little bit sooner than Clover House. Clover House has to wait until the sales process goes through and all of that is settled. It's the new owner that's looking to make improvements to that property.
Question. You said Clover House. Are they doing the one that's currently a halfway house? Or are we talking about the green building that Forever Young is going in?
Well, Forever Young isn't moving. It's just the owner of Forever Young is buying the green Clover House on
Right.
Texas. So I don't think that the spa is going in there. I think it's something different, but she hasn't provided me with that information.
But the actual Clover House that's close to OA is asking for something? Or are we
No.
talking the same building?
We're talking the green Clover House on Texas.
Okay, it was just in here as Clover, so Clover House, then Forever Young. Both of them are doing it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So Forever Young is on the corner of 4th and Grant, next to Izzy's, basically. And then Clover House is over on Texas. It's
Okay.
the same owner, though,
Right, okay.
but 2 different properties.
Okay.
And then we still have out there for Dr. Pill and Dr. Kura. They've both received multiple counseling sessions and come in for meetings at different times. And both have just kind of said that it's something that they'll look into in the future. But, you know, it's not something that's solid enough for us to put into the awaiting paperwork category.
Alexa, a question that I've been asked several times and I've asked and hadn't got an answer. What kind of money do we have in this infrastructure and facade program? Is that something that is being funded yearly?
So it is being funded yearly, and it's in ODC's budget. So right now they fund it pretty low, just not to allocate a lot to it because they don't know what comes through. And in past years, there really hasn't been a lot. We recently started doing some marketing efforts to market these programs, and that's why all of a sudden we went from like 2 on the list to 10, is because people have become aware that they exist, which is, you know, something that I was tasked with a few months ago, is to kind of, you know, enhance this program as much as we can. And, you know, we've made baby steps towards doing that, which is kind of obvious by the number of applicants we've got on the list. But they will approve taking additional money out of their reserves and moving it to the line item should demand exist. There is going to eventually be a limit to that if we hit that. But, you know, some of these are larger projects and some of these are smaller ones. You know, we have ones that are, you know, La Katrina and the house that are between 5 and 15,000, and then we have ones that are Icon Tavern or Petty Cardio that hit the $2,000 or the $200,000, you know, caps and things like that. So it all just kind of varies a little bit as far as, you know, what their flexibility is to do that. But, you know, they have a line item for it, and then they've
Okay.
also routinely moved money from their reserves to fund that line item should the, you know, line item run out.
Thank you.
Anything further on any of the grants?
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Downtown Odessa Incorporated staffing update for the executive director and executive assistant.
Did you want to do
I can give an update to that, and I don't know, John, if you wanna provide, have you heard anything from Michael on this any further?
Did we offer the lady the position?
We did offer the position, she's, in the process of her paperwork being checked, background, and checking references. So, we're hoping to hear all back from that this week, and then Michael would make a formal offer to her. He basically, offered verbally if she was still interested, just cause, you know, we've had the issue of people interviewing and then they weren't interested anymore, so. He did verbally offer it to her, we're just waiting for everything to come back for it to be, confirmed with the paperwork.
Is it a local person?
She's in Midland.
Yes. Sandra, Michael, and I did the interview.
Right.
I think she'll do it. I think she'll do a good job.
She's at Casa de Amigos now.
Oh, okay.
And was at OC prior to that. Oh, no.
Girl Scouts.
Prior to that, and then OC prior to that.
What's her name again?
Sheena Green.
Sheena Green. Right.
Nonprofit side, I think she'll do a super great job. Economical development, she doesn't have what we were looking for, but we talked to her about future education, and I think she's really into it, and I think she's willing to learn, and I think she'll do a good job and should be a great fit for downtown.
And she's willing to work with the chamber. I really liked what she said about, you know, utilizing that the chamber to help out, because they have an economic development department, so.
Mhm.
Does she smile and have a great attitude?
Yes.
She seems very people friendly and,
We'll take it.
yeah.
She's very outgoing, driven. I think she'll do a great job.
I think so too.
That'll work.
And then for the executive assistant, we've opened that position recently. We had one interview last week. We're going to have another one on Thursday. We had a really great one lined up for yesterday, but she pulled out due to low pay. But the one that we've had already, she was really, really great, and I'm looking forward to meet the other applicant that we have coming in on Thursday. If more good resumes come through, we'll set something up, but there has been kind of a lack of quality applicant come through, I would say. We've pulled 3 out of maybe 15 for interviews, so.
So, can I ask, what is the starting pay for that?
To be honest, I am not privy to that information.
We can
It's
ask.
like 28, 32, something like that.
A month? Is that what you're saying?
A year, but like 32,000.
Oh, 32,000. Okay, I thought you said 28, 32.
32,000 a year, I think, is where it.
Any other questions for Alexa?
No.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Oh, one thing, Alexa is now a homeowner
Oh, yay.
in Odessa, Texas.
All right.
Congratulations.
We're not letting her leave, ever.
Well, I can't leave 21st Street. I've always lived on 21st Street, and that apparently won't change.
That's great.
I'm an Elm Street
Call the
kid.
meeting then?
Yeah.
I'm from Pecos, I'm an Elm Street
All
kid.
right, thank you.
It's my Halloween dress.
Oksana,
Freezing.